And my name is Daniel Perez, and I am the new director of bands for the Clovis High School Wildcat Band.
Today we have some questions for you. Have you looked over them? Mm-hmm. What's the biggest thing you've learned being a band director and working with high school?
One of the biggest things I've learned is that high schoolers and teenagers in particular are very resilient. They will always rise to the occasion, to whatever expectation you set for them. They will always surprise you in reaching that expectation and that goal.
I have a question. Was there any point in your life where you were shy or used it to be the version of yourself that you are today?
I wouldn't say fully shy. I definitely had moments in my life where I was a little more reserved, especially maybe early high school and then a little bit in early college. As you guys know, sometimes when you're transitioning to a new phase or a new spot, sometimes you kind of recluse yourself, you reserve yourself to kind of observe, and that's kind of what I did. So I definitely, in those moments, kind of sat back a little bit, observed, and then I kind of threw myself into whatever was happening at the moment.
How do you use your imagination in the band hall while the students practice out in the field?
So what we do, especially with marching band, is a very creative process, right? There's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. We have what we call a design team that creates kind of the entire marching show that you get to see from week to week. And so there's a lot of creativity that goes into it, rehearsal to rehearsal, that I have to be aware of and the other directors have to be aware of. So I would say just being prescriptive to what we're seeing in front of us and having the kind of foresight and imagination to look ahead and see what's coming up next.
What makes you relevant as a band director at this time and age?
I would say just my consistency in my career and my work ethic. In the state, I've been a band director. This is year 11 for me, and so I've kind of tried to make a name for myself in the state of New Mexico, and I feel like that is kind of what helped me get to the position that I'm in now, which is the head director here at Clovis High.
Did you ever see yourself as a band director?
So I did. It was kind of middle of high school. I had a band director myself who kind of really impacted my life and really made me see what a band director could be and do for students. And I told myself at that point that I wanted to be like that person and impact other students' lives the way he impacted mine.
That band director made you decide you wanted to become one. He impacted your life in a certain sense.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
As you teach, do you ever learn anything from your students?
Oh man, every single day. When we as teachers kind of approach students, it's important that you approach your students with an open mind, I think, because that's how you learn, you know. And it may not always be learning something about, for example, band or the subject that we're learning, but it might be learning something about a student, you know, another interest or another activity or something that student is involved in. I definitely learn something new every single day.
Do you wish you impact one of your students to become better than you were back in your early years?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the hope, right? And the goal is to impact, if I impact a few students every year that I have them, to learn to become a better version of themselves or what they want to be, I will feel like I'll accomplish my job, whether it's band related or not, just as a person.
You have any words of wisdom you'd like to share with your students?
Words of wisdom. I don't know if I'm very wise, but some words of wisdom are to never be afraid to go back to the fundamentals, okay? Whether that be in band and looking at our marching fundamentals or playing fundamentals. And don't be afraid to sit back and listen at times. Often a lot of us have a lot that we want to say and that we want to kind of just throw out there, but it's also okay to take a step back and just listen and observe what's going on.
As a high school student myself, I can tell that we take some time to actually behave and pay attention. Do you have any ways that you make your students listen and actually apply what you're teaching?
Well, I'm very fortunate to have come into a program that was very established as far as things like that go. So there haven't been any drastic or dramatic moments where I've needed to really rein the band in because they already kind of rehearse and are at a high level. that they were able to adapt my style. Obviously, I'm a different person than my predecessor, so I have a different style of approaching things, but I think the kids did a great job of adapting my expectations when it comes to this program.
What type of environment do you want to have in your band hall and for the band? What type of environment would you like to have?
That's a great question. I would say I want to have a very, very positive environment and positive culture within the band. The band program, as you all know, has been successful for many years. But what I think I bring to the table along that success is also bringing a culture of inclusivity and positivity, while still maintaining that bar high and making sure that the students know that the expectations remain, but we can achieve it in a more positive and meaningful way.
So do you like to use that culture and environment to keep the same standard as, say, Bill Allred did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Mr. Allred did a good job of keeping that bar nice and high. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, he was a different person than I am, so we have different styles and approaches, but I think we both were to agree on the bar remaining high. I just have a different belief in culture.
You said that at a young age you saw yourself as a band director. What type of education did you do to get into this job?
Yeah, so I grew up just down the street in Portales, and I went through school there, K through 12, and then I went to Eastern New Mexico University, and I pursued my bachelor's of music, received my degree there, took 4 years, and then I immediately went to graduate school. And that happened at Washington State University. I went and got my master's degree there in conducting. And then after that, I began teaching. So I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in music.
So you could say it was a lengthy process to get where you are today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do you regret it at all?
I do not. I do not regret it at all. It was every step, every little thing that I did led me to where I am today. And I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in today. The expectation for the band has always been to be successful at what they do, especially in the marching season. They're very competitive. So I tend to agree with that expectation of making sure that the band continues to practice and rehearse at a high level so that they can achieve at a high level. We are sitting at about 3 weeks away from our first competition. And so the expectation in the bar is that the band will perform at its highest level at that competition. The other expectation I have for the ensemble as a group is it relates back to that culture of positivity. I don't like seeing negative things happen out on the field. I don't like seeing students yelling at students. I want to make sure that the expectation is that we are going to treat each other with kindness and constructive criticism.
In this high school, I am a member of the choir, and recently we've began filling out forms to do fundraising for our suits and t-shirts and other stuff that we need. Do you do any fundraising for your thing, for your class, and what does it go to?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're actually in the thick of a couple fundraisers ourselves right now. The bulk of that fundraising goes to a big trip that the band takes every year. This year we're traveling to St. George, Utah for a Bands of America Regional. And so the students are responsible to fundraise a good amount of money for that trip because it is about a 3-4 day trip overnight. And St. George is about a 12-hour drive. So it's a long distance, and it's a couple nights in a hotel. So all of our fundraising money will go towards the students' accounts for that trip specifically. I'm just curious, how long have you guys been doing this podcast?
This is our first episode.
You're the first one.
Well, there you go.
We'd like to thank you for taking the time out and to interview with us.
Of course.
I know that you're a busy man with scheduling and also other stuff that you have to do.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be the first guest.